So here's the number one reason why I don't like Ford. I like touching things, and Ford does not want me touching their things. Does that make sense? Okay, so to get a better understanding of my dislike for Ford, you got to know some stuff about me. And I am originally a heavy equipment mechanic. I worked in construction before mechanics. I understand how things are put together. I built my own house. I built this shop. I poured this floor, and now I'm working out of that shop. I have a couple patents. I designed a tool. I understand how things work. And I don't work on cars for the most part. I've always worked on heavier equipment, off-road, excavators, farm equipment, agriculture, and pickup trucks. I don't really touch the cars and have pretty well no experience about cars, so I can't say that Ford makes terrible cars. I'm not a fan of Ford because they really don't want guys like me working on their stuff. Their stuff is designed to bring back to the dealer. Ford uses a lot of specialty tools that they do on purpose, that the dealership has, that guys like me just don't want to buy or afford or stock when we don't work on the stuff every single day. I also don't work on current vehicles. Current stuff is, as you know, is getting more and more advanced, and basically, like the Dodges actually say on the screen, take me to a dealer because something's wrong. I'm not a dealer. I'm not up to date with the latest technology or the newest service bulletins or anything like that. My era of expertise is from about 10 years ago. The guys that have pickups that kind of want to work on them themselves, it's not running right, they bring it to me, I fix it, I take a look at it, and we go from there. Now, that being said, let's talk generally about the 2000s to say 2010s. Let's talk about that decade. Right now, it's 2017. That's kind of that era that I see those vehicles coming through the shop. They need a lot of work done to them, but they're out of warranty. People buying used pickup trucks for work, things like that. Ford made, in my opinion, made much better quality stuff in the square bodies. Pre-1996, pre the Triton, pre the rounded edges. If it was a square body, I love the old square bodies. We had a lot of them at the shop that I used to work at. Friends of mine had them. We all kind of started out with square bodies. My first truck was an 87 S10. And that really started my love affair with mechanics. It was very simply put together. With very little experience on working on vehicles, I bought a Haynes manual, swapped a couple engines in an S10, basically put two trucks together and built an entire truck. That started my love affair for mechanics. I got an apprenticeship, started working on heavy equipment, agriculture, a lot of tractors. Loved how you can split a tractor to get at the clutch. It was easy to work on. But none of my introductions to Fords have been pleasant. Things like not labeling the fuse panel box. Now you guys say they are labeled. They are not labeled. In the pickup trucks that after 2000, I haven't seen any fuse box lids that are labeled. All I see is a bunch of numbers, and you have to go in the owner's manual to see what number does what fuse. Now, we're in heavy equipment vehicles, we're in heavy equipment shops. Our hands are dirty. Now you got to go wash your hands, open up the manual to find what fuse does what. You get the owner's manual dirty, you got to go rooting through his glove box. It's a waste of time. Every other maker labels the fuse box right there, and you can just look, oh, the horn's not working, it's the horn fuse, done, out the door in 30 seconds. And basically you say, don't even worry about the bill, it's already just, you're good to go. Ford, no, I spent 15 minutes doing it, I got to punch out, I got to give you a bill for it. So the main pickup truck engines that I've seen and worked on is the 5.4 Tritons and the Powerstroke diesels. And both of them were a disaster. I watched a buddy of mine buy a next to new F350 dump truck with a 6-liter in it, and it was still under warranty, and he had about $15,000 worth of warranty work done to that truck, and it still wasn't right. He goes, okay, I got so much time into it. They must have fixed it by now. I'm gonna keep it now that it's out of warranty. It should be fine. I'm gonna cross my fingers. I don't have enough money to buy another truck. It should be fine. No, sensors leaving them with no starts, tow bills, and downtime. and Ford will not fix a problem that they know is a problem. The head gaskets were going, stud it. No, they'll put the OEM head bolts back in again, and when they're waving at you as you drive away, they're like, well, good luck. That's not how a company should treat customers. And you can say that, okay, International built those engines, the Power Strokes, has nothing to do with Ford. Bull. If Ford was not at the design table with International, then they're bigger idiots than you guys are giving them credit for. They need to know what's being designed. They need to have quality control into anything that they're putting their name on it. At the end of the day, two out of three people will say it's a Ford issue, and the other person will say, no, it's an International issue. Yes, they cut their ties, but it took long enough. After that truck of my buddy's was broken down enough, he went back to Ford and said, I can't have this truck. It's a lemon, and I want to trade it in for something else. Ford didn't want it. They said, no, we won't buy the truck off of you, even though they themselves did roughly $30,000 to $40,000 worth of repair to that truck. That was a huge loss. As a young guy starting out, if you're eating a $40,000 bill on a truck that you paid $30,000, $40,000 for, that's insane. And now you can say, okay, now we've spent lots of years of diagnosing these engines and saying, okay, if you do this, and this, you can bulletproof it. They're excellent engines. That may be so. If you have 10 grand to throw at a Power Stroke and say, okay, I have a bulletproofed engine, fantastic. But I don't think that an automaker should be allowed to make something that needs $10,000 of backyard mechanics expertise to get it bulletproof, to make it reliable. They can charge for that. It's just not right. When people tell me, oh, go check out Power Stroke Help. Yes, I've checked out lots of Power Stroke Help videos, and none of them make me want to go out and buy another Ford. I don't understand. The Tritons, the two-piece spark plugs, you've seen me make the videos on the F-150s. The two-piece spark plugs, get a better plug. Put more, after 120 years of building engines, you should know how to put a spark plug in it. And you can't tell me that an engineer looked at that cylinder head in the early Tritons and said, you know what, maybe we should put more than 2 or 3 threads holding the spark plugs in. Some guy says, oh, if you tighten it to the perfect torque and you do it at the exact right intervals, you won't have an issue. Countless stories of spark plugs hitting hoods. And, okay, well, let's just put 20 threads in there and then have a 2-piece spark plug snap off, and you're still swearing. To me, those are stupid, idiotic little problems that shouldn't be there in the first place. Now, I got to give Ford credit. They are number one in innovation. They will come out with a new idea, and they're ahead of their time for everything. The new trucks are backing up, hooking up trailers, all sorts of little gizmos like that. They are ahead of their time. And it's brilliant because they're marketing. The average person will go into that cab and say, I love this cab. I love these buttons, and I love the backup camera. I love that it parks itself. But they won't actually know to go and pop the hood and say, this is a giant friggin' mess of wires and hoses under there. But I'm the guy that's working under that hood going, this is a giant friggin' mess of wires and hoses on there. The F-150 there that I swapped the engine in, the injectors, cam phaser, and 2 other sensors all use the same plug. So and the way the wiring harness is, I didn't take the engine apart, that somebody else tore the engine down and had me finish up the job. I plugged everything back in again, had a no start. I'm like, that's weird, everything's plugged in. Every wire that I seen got plugged into somewhere. Well, the whole harness was off one plug. The 4 injectors, the one plug was right at the back of the head, and then the other 3 injectors were plugged in to the wrong injector, and then the cam phaser was plugged into the number 1 or number 2 cylinder, whatever it is. And stupid, why would you make all the same plugs? That's just idiotic to me. But those are the kind of things that frustrate me as a mechanic, and will tell customers, I don't want to work on your Ford, because I can swap an LS engine into a pickup truck that you've seen me do it on the 07 Silverado that was in here. I did it in less than half the time it takes me to do it on a Ford. So I see a Ford come in, I say, okay, you know what, a couple small little issues, I can fix that and I can make a decent buck on it. The parts are outrageous, and then it takes twice as long as you think it's going to be, and at the end of the day, there's not very much money left over, because you got to give the customer, I'm sorry, but this simple job costs like $2,000 to do, and I thought I could do it for less than $500. Take things like the hanger bearing on the two-piece drive shaft in the F-150s. Ford welds the yoke on the other side of the hanger bearing. So when this $30 hanger bearing goes, they make you buy the entire drive shaft. And that's fine. There's enough companies now making aftermarket drive shafts. You can pick them up for $500-600. Still, it's a $30 bearing that it should be replaced. And GMs, you slide the yoke off, you can get the hanger bearing, put it on, put the yoke back on. It's done. That you can say, okay, you know what, your truck is rattling and shaking like crazy, $60-70, you're out the door again and you feel good about it, rather than saying, you know what, Ford wants $1,800 for this drive shaft and I still have to put it in, so your bill just for a $30 hanger bearing is over like $2,000. If it broke before aftermarket companies were able to start making these things. So if you're wondering why there's so much hatred for Ford, it's that me and Fords just don't get along. They want their stuff to go back to the dealerships. Anything on a Power Stroke other than regular maintenance, you got to pull the cab. And everybody says, oh, it's only 2-3 hours to pull the cab. Yeah, but it's 4, 5, 6 hours to put it back on again. You got to recharge your AC. You got to line everything back up again. It's a 2-person job. It's a giant pain in the ass. And they do it on purpose. And flashing a computer. You could very easily take HP tuners. Their GM says, here you go. Do what you want with our computers. You can swap it, do this, increase the power, use your computer from this van and put it in this pickup. Just wipe the program and upload a new program forward. It's not going to happen. You use special interface tools. It just doesn't make mechanics fun anymore. The old stuff, love it. I had a Mustang. The old pickup trucks, I love the looks of them. 7.3s were great engines. Anything after 2000, keep it. And basically, if you guys want me to, we're talking about this today, the shop is busy enough. I'm basically going to say, if it's 1996 or newer, I don't want it in the shop. I don't want to work on it. But anyway, that's my experience as a mechanic who's dabbled in a little bit of everything. I've rebuilt boat motors, quads. It's all on the channel. Building a race car. Built my own trucks. That's not to say that GM is perfect and that every line is better. And I also understand that everything in Europe is a different grade and a different quality than everything that we get in North America. Little Fiestas and Focuses that they have in Europe, fantastic little cars, little diesel Rangers, beautiful. The crap that we have over here, I don't understand. I appreciate a lot of your guys' comments down below. We've had comments from I got to read some of them, but anyway, we got comments from service managers saying, I know where you're coming from. Parts are a pain in the ass. Every caliper on every FX2, FX4, Lariat, King Ranch, everyone is a different caliper. You can't just swap calipers. And I had a buddy who had a 3 or 4 year old truck, couldn't even get a caliper from Ford. And it's like, okay, well, that's just the way it's supposed to be. No, that's stupid. That's downtime. I need my truck. I need to get to work. I need to pick up the kids from daycare. I need my vehicle. That's why I give you a lot of money, $40,000 for a pickup, for like a low-end pickup. I need to get to where I'm going, past the 80,000 kilometers when it's out of warranty. If that makes any sense to you guys, comment down below. I've had people say, I know where you're coming from, I see this, and then I get comments from Ford guys who are just diehard Ford guys who, I don't know why, Ford does an awesome job at marketing. They just think, well, that's the way a truck's supposed to be. 180,000 kilometers on it, it's supposed to be garbage, because even though I've taken good care of it and replaced the manifolds and listened to the exhaust leak for years and years, that's just the way that it's supposed to be. And I'm going to go out and buy another Ford because it's a beautiful cabin and it's got beautiful buttons and it's exactly where I want it to be. The bed isn't practical because it's 6 feet high and you can't grab anything out of it, but it just looks so nice. And it's like, it's not practical. It's not economical. And I hate working on them. So anyway, thanks for listening to me ramble and try to explain. The last video was just a funny story. If you're still watching, the last video, I think we're going to take it down because it got the wrong idea. I talked about working on an Aerostar, and people think I was comparing an Aerostar to my S10. It's not. It's just that the S10 was my first introduction to GM, and the Aerostar was the first introduction to Ford, and it was just black and white. But anyway, we made that video. because the shop that I used to work at has nothing but Fords, die-hard Ford guy, but they had an F550 that went through two 6.4 liter Power Strokes, dropped a valve in the one, something else happened to the other, and they ended up putting a Cummins in it. We made a video on the nice Cummins swap, but we were asked to take it down because he makes a very good living at fixing Power Strokes, and it doesn't make sense when he pulls out his own Power Stroke and puts a Cummins in the Ford. It's still all Power Stroke badges on the side of it, but that is a 100% pure Cummins 6-cylinder engine in that F550 driving around town. So because that was a prelude to that video, because we were asked to take it down, we took down the whole part about the Cummins swap, but we kind of left that, and it was kind of an unfinished video on my hatred for Ford, and it grinds my teeth. I just hate. I'm gonna say it. I hate Ford. I hate working on Fords. I hope that clears things up for you guys a little bit. We're gonna leave this video up. Comment down below. Let me know what you guys think, or if I'm crazy. Oh, one more thing. And I like GM because a lot of their parts are interchangeable. I took the 3/4 ton Silverado front end, put it on my Tahoe. I like the look of it. I can just unbolt it, bolt it back on. It takes very little time. But they're not perfect. They have lots of their own issues, and that's why I pulled the 6 liter out. It's terrible on fuel, and put in a Cummins in that too. That's why I pulled out the 5.3. I had a head gasket go. It happens. They're not perfect. They're a much better platform to work off of, and because the parts are so interchangeable, you can stock some parts laying around and actually get to using them, and it's not just that specific serial brake of that specific model and that specific year on a Ford. Okay, and look, like every maker is making it so that you have to take it to a dealer, which brings it to a whole new level that guys like me will be out of work. If I had a shop, and I saw it with the heavy equipment, I started on my own shop. The second I quit the dealership, I was out of date. I don't have the retraining, I don't have the tools, I don't have the updates, and it's going to be the same way with the automotive sector. Little shops like mine are going to disappear because we will not have the updates for it, and the automakers will make it so that only they can work on their own equipment. And once it gets to self-driving and electric cars, that's it. Like, my dirty hands are gone. Hopefully I'll be an old man by then, but that's kind of also why I'm switching from working on vehicles to just building cool stuff, and this YouTube thing seems to be going okay. Thanks for commenting, guys, and yeah.